Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, 9 GOP candidates get a chance to make their case as to why they should be the next Speaker of the House. And with mortgage rates and rental prices on the uptick, future home buyers are asking if they should buy now or continue to rent.
And if you like the weather today, you will love the weather for much of this week. Your forecast coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Nearly 3 weeks into the process, House Republicans need to find a new candidate to be the Speaker of the House. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan dropped out on Friday after he realized he could not get enough votes to win. CBS's Natalie Brand has the latest from Capitol Hill.
On day 20 without a Speaker of the U.S. House, Republicans are starting the process all over again.
This is probably one of the most embarrassing things I've seen, because if we don't have a Speaker of the House, we can't govern. And every day goes by, we're essentially shut down as a government. 9
candidates are now vying for the gavel. They'll make their case to their colleagues behind closed doors Monday evening. Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer, who is already in a House leadership position as Majority Whip, has won the support of former Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
He sets himself head and shoulders above all those others who want to run. We need to get him elected this week and move on.
Congressman Emmer and one other candidate, Georgia's Austin Scott, are the only 2 on the list of Speaker hopefuls who voted to certify the 2020 election. But Emmer's vote could put him at odds with ardent supporters of former President Donald Trump.
Well, I think he's my biggest fan now because he called me yesterday and he told me I'm your biggest fan. So I don't know about that.
Internal GOP divisions have made it impossible so far for any one lawmaker to gain the 217 votes needed for a majority on the House floor. Yet Republicans are hoping to unite behind a Speaker nominee as early as tomorrow. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
House Republicans are set to hold secret ballots tomorrow morning to determine who will be their Speaker nominee. With 9 candidates in the race, that balloting process could take a while to play out. Senator Bob Menendez pleaded not guilty to an additional charge in federal court today. Prosecutors claim he conspired to act as a foreign agent of Egypt. Menendez and other co-defendants are already charged with corruption and bribery offenses. The U.S. Attorney's Office says the reported crimes took place in part while Menendez chaired the Foreign Relations Committee. This new count carries up to 5 more years in prison. A New York City police officer is facing charges for reportedly distributing fentanyl and heroin. Grace Rosa Baez was arrested last week. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York says they had multiple meetings with a confidential source working with police. At one of them, prosecutors say Baez handed the source a plastic candy container with fentanyl inside. At another meeting, she reportedly provided a bag of heroin. Tennessee police have identified the 2 officers shot Saturday night in a suburb of Nashville. Police say officers Ashley Bowley-Jack and Gregory Kern were questioning a suspect about a stolen vehicle when the suspect shot them. The officers were taken to a local hospital. Officer Bowley-Jack was released on Saturday. Officer Kern was kept overnight. At last check, he was in stable condition. The United Auto Workers strike expanded this morning to include another Stellantis plant. About 6,800 union members walked off the job today at the company's largest factory that produces Dodge Ram pickup trucks, a big seller for Stellantis and their most profitable vehicle. Today's move comes after Union President Shawn Fain reported Friday there was some progress in talks with General Motors and Stellantis, but they still have not gone far enough. Israel has ramped up airstrikes across Gaza as the threat of a ground invasion looms ever closer. CBS News has learned the U.S. is pressing Israel to delay a ground war in an effort to secure the region of hostages and usher in critical aid. CBS's Tina Kraus is in Tel Aviv and reports 2 more hostages were just freed today.
Israel's military says it launched more than 300 airstrikes over the past day, aimed at Hamas operational infrastructure and military targets in the Gaza Strip. Israeli Defense Forces have also started limited ground raids in Hamas-controlled territory. This Tier 1 commando says he's already spent 5 days fighting Hamas militants inside Israel's borders.
We didn't sleep, we didn't eat, we fought all the time.
There could be more of that if Israel follows through with a ground invasion. The Biden administration said today it does not dictate Israel's military response, but U.S. officials have been pushing to prioritize the release of more than 200 hostages and the delivery of humanitarian aid in Gaza.
It is literally an hour-by-hour effort here at the White House and at the State Department to find out where these folks are and to try to make the effort to get them out.
Israeli officials confirm Hamas released 2 elderly women just today, in addition to the 2 American women freed on Friday. There are still many hostages held in Gaza, their conditions unknown. Rachel Goldberg has no proof her American-born son, Hirsch, is still alive.
I really would love to talk to Hamas. I don't know of situations where people steal 85-year-old grandmothers and 2-year-old children and hippies who are dancing barefoot at a music festival.
Israel Defense Forces released this video showing Hamas militants firing at cars the day of the massacre and checking their casualty count after.
This is a situation that no democracy can live with.
This helicopter pilot, deployed right after the attack, tells CBS News Israeli troops will do whatever it takes to protect their country. Tina Kraus, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
The U.S. says getting that aid of food, water, and medicine to displaced Palestinians is critically important. So far, the Biden administration says there is no evidence that any of that aid has ended up in the hands of Hamas militants. As the Israel-Hamas war continues, concerns are growing that a wider conflict could further tighten global oil supplies. While neither Israel nor Gaza is a significant oil supplier, concerns the conflict will broaden to other countries in the region are driving investor fears of a possible tightening on global oil supplies. Brent crude oil prices opened at above $91 today, the international oil benchmark. So far, the fluctuations have not impacted gas pumps.
A lot of the seasonality that's pushing prices down is really winning that tug of war, and that's helping to keep gasoline prices declining, even as oil prices have gone up.
DeHaan added cheaper winter gas blends combined with decreased demand are helping to keep those prices lower.
Well, you can't beat the forecast this evening. Here's a live look from London to Hazard to Pikeville, and we are tracking plenty of blue sky and sunshine, also above average temperatures for some of us. Some of us are close to average. Pikeville is at average at 66 degrees, but we are in the upper 60s and lower 70s for most of us right now. Up to 74 in Manchester, 73 for Harlan, and 70 for Hazard, also Jonesville at this hour. So we are mild, and more mild and dry weather is on the way, all thanks to high pressure that continues to sit over the mountains at this hour, and this will be the big weather story for much of this week. And as a result, we are tracking some dry weather to continue. If you have any plans to fire up the grill this evening, we stay dry, also comfortable. Those temperatures back in the upper 50s and lower 60s. And again, more dry weather is on the way this week, all thanks to that high pressure. A small chance of a stray shower by Friday, also Saturday, but higher rain chances are looming by early next week. Also looking a little bit chilly by Halloween by next week. That full forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thank you. New data shows it is now 52% more expensive to buy a home than rent one. And that's because of climbing mortgage rates. Kelsey Soto is checking in with Kentucky realtors about the housing situation here in the Commonwealth.
The cost of buying a home versus renting one is at its most extreme since at least 1996, according to the Wall Street Journal. Rates on a 30-year mortgage are sitting around 8%.
No matter what, regardless of what rates are, there is still a great opportunity. There is still homes on the market that are ready for buyers to purchase.
Elizabeth Monarch, this year's president of Kentucky Realtors, tells me she's hopeful those rates will come down soon. Kentucky's median sale price right now is about $248,000. The average number of days on the market is about 18.
I've been doing this 22 years, and I can remember back in 2008, we couldn't find a buyer to save our life.
Rising housing prices can also make it harder for renters to scrounge up a 10% down payment. Others are making it work.
What we are also seeing is that in the month of August and September, 23% of purchases have come from investors. And people are saying, you know what, regardless of the rate, I can buy the rate down, I can marry the house, and I can refinance in the next 2 to 3 years.
Now, renting means your monthly payment can go up anytime you sign a new lease, whereas a fixed rate mortgage will lock in your monthly payment. Homeowners benefit whenever the price and value of a home goes up, but they do also pour more cash into their property for repairs, remodeling, and maintenance.
Just the importance of working with a realtor and an experienced market professional, I think, would be helpful.
In Lexington, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.
3,800 homes sold last month. Kentucky realtors say September home sales equaled $1.1 billion, down slightly from August. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, a new report claims consumers plan to spend a combined total of $184 billion on gifts this holiday season. We'll have some tips to help you shop without breaking the bank.
And some 80s are possible later this week. Those details coming up after this break.